Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video I am going to show you how to do diagonal herringbone stitch. The diagonal herringbone stitch is only worked in the round and it's a one row repeat round. It produces a thick and a non-transparent solid fabric. Make a slip knot and insert hook into slip knot loop to make a chains. Diagonal herringbone stitch requires a foundation chain length of multiples of 3 and it works for joined rounds. So here I am making 24 chains for demonstration purpose. So I am making 24 chains and it works for joined round. So after making 24 chains I am making chain ring. After making 24 chains, make a chain ring. Chain ring is formed by joining the round with very first stitch as shown in the video. Do slip stitch here to join the very first stitch and 24th chain stitch. This is the chain ring. Make a chain 1 to secure the slip stitch and to start the round 1 and do 1 single crochet into the same stitch. I am using the stitch marker here to mark down my first single crochet in the round 1 and make 23 more single crochets around the round, totally 24 single crochets. Make 1 single crochet in each chain stitch, totally 24 single crochets. I will reach you at the end to show you how to join the round 1. I almost reached the end of round 1. 23, 24, I reached the end of the row. Slip stitch into the single crochet of the beginning to join the round 1. Observe here. That one is the previous slip stitch and that one is the previous chain stitch. Skip that 2 stitches and slip stitch into the single crochet in start of the round 1. Round 1 finished. For round 2, make a chain 1 and single crochet into the same stitch. I am using stitch marker here to note down my first single crochet in the second round. Second round also is the same. Make 1 single crochet in each stitch throughout the round. I will reach at the end. I almost reached the end of the round. 23, 24. Make a slip stitch to the previous row first single crochet marked one to complete the second round. Make a chain 1 to secure the slip stitch. To start the third round, place 1 essay into the same stitch and 1 more essay into the next stitch. I am using the stitch marker here to note down the first single crochet in the third round. Make one more single crochet in the next stitch. For diagonal herringbone stitch, go back to first SC and make up a loop. Then track for third stitch. One row down to third stitch and make up a loop. Go back to your first SE, insert your hook and yarn over and pull a long loop. With two loops on your hook, locate the third stitch and insert your hook one row down. Yarn over and pull a very long loop. Yarn over again and draw through all three loops. 1, 2, 3. Draw through all three loops to form a first diagonal herringbone stitch. Repeat the same procedure until the end of the round. Each diagonal herringbone stitch requires 3 continuous stitches. Place 2 S's in continuous stitches and locate for the third stitch one row down to third stitch. 3 continuous stitches are required to complete one diagonal herringbone stitch. Place 2 S's in first 2 stitches and locate for the one row down to third stitch. And go back to your first SE, yarn over and drop a long loop and one row down to third stitch, yarn over and pull up a very long loop. Again yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to form a diagonal herringbone stitch. Repeat the same procedure until the end of the round. I will meet you at the end to show you how to join round 3. Last diagonal herringbone stitch left in the third row. For joining the third round, Skip the previous slip stitch and chain stitch and slip stitch into the single crochet of the beginning of the third round to join marked one. For two slip stitches are required here, one slip stitch, one more slip stitch into the next stitch, one slip stitch, second slip stitch, first slip stitch, second slip stitch. Make a chain 1 and single crochet onto the second slip stitch to start the round 4. To start the diagonal herringbone stitch in the 4th round, I am using the stitch marker here to note down my first single crochet in the 4th round and make one more SC in the next stitch. Then go back to first single crochet, yarn over and drop a long loop. Then find for the third stitch, one row down to third stitch, that is the link between the present diagonal herringbone and the previous diagonal herringbone in the row 3rd. Insert hook one row down to third stitch, yarn over and pull up a very long loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to make first diagonal herringbone in the 4th round. See diagonal lines, already diagonal lines are formed. Continue the same procedure until the end of the round. I will meet you at the end of the round 4 and we will see how to join in the round 4. One more diagonal stitch left in the 4th round. Place 2 single crochets in continuous stitches and locate for the third one. Third stitch for the last diagonal herringbone stitch in the round 4 is the first foot of the first diagonal herringbone in the round 4. First locate that one. That one is a previous round slip stitch and that one is the chain stitch of the 4th round starting. Skip slip stitch and chain stitch and move on to single crochet in the start of the round 4. That is the third stitch for this diagonal herringbone, last diagonal herringbone stitch. One row down to first single crochet of the start of the round 4. Insert hook there, yarn over and pull up a very long loop. Now there are 3 loops on a hook and yarn over and pull through all 3 loops to make a last diagonal herringbone stitch in the 4th round. Complete round 4 by slip stitch into the second SC of the beginning to join the round 4. That one is a third stitch for the last diagonal herringbone in the 4th round. So leave that one and slip stitch into the second SC of the beginning. To start the round 5, make a chain 1 and 1 SC into the same stitch. I am using stitch marker here to note down my first SC in the 5th round. Make another S in the next stitch to start the first diagonal herringbone in the fifth round. For making diagonal herringbone stitches, procedure is the same. So please carry on. Repeat the same procedure for making diagonal herringbone stitches in fifth round also. I will meet you at the end to show you how to join fifth round. Skip previous slip stitch and chain stitch and move on to the first single crochet at the beginning of the fifth round. One row down of that stitch is the third stitch. That is the third stitch for the last diagonal herringbone stitch in the fifth round. For joining the fifth round, procedure is the same as the fourth round procedure. To join fifth round, slip stitch into the second single crochet of the beginning of the fifth round. That point. Slip stitch into that point. So fifth round is completed. From round 6 and on, repeat the round 5 procedure. Thank you for watching my video. If you like my video, please like, comment and subscribe. Thank you all.